Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Twist News. My name is Don Pravda.
I don't know why, but you always crack me up every time you do our intro. It's really hard for me to keep a straight face. Okay, so go ahead. I don't mean to be rude.
I'll start again.
Donald Trump is definitely stirring the geopolitical pot. That's what he's doing. He's stirring the pot. I'm listening to Across the Atlantic, and their panties are all in a wad. And I mean in a wad. And they're throwing out decisions because they are really concerned that America is no longer by their side, no longer the ally that they can count on. So they're working on Project 27, where they're going to, this was the Spinelli group, the Federalists, the European movement. These are the movers and shakers in the European Union. And they are working so that they can do treaty changes. There's a passerelle clause that's a clause within the European Union that allows them to make major decisions, but they have to have all the council vote unanimously. That's like almost impossible to get. But they're looking at using that and using some other ways so that they can go forward, and they're jump-starting their military because they feel that they can no longer be a soft power because of Trump, that he's going to pull out of Ukraine, that they've got Russia on their doorstep, and his threat of going into Greenland with military action. So that's one of the things they're working on, their competition policy.
And in general, I think there's fear of Mr. Trump in Europe.
Oh, fear is an understatement, Don. Fear is an absolute understatement. The European Parliament had an entire plenary session devoted to Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. But you want to know the joke about the plenary session? Here's what the joke is. The joke is that they play like they're a democratic parliament, and 720 parliamentarians. Now, you and I were in the hemicycle. That thing is huge. Isn't that thing huge? Like this enormous circle with all these seats. Sure. And we're way up top looking over this thing.
We were there.
Yeah, we were there. And this thing is huge with 720 MEPs. So what you have is all of them discussing and giving their opinions about Donald Trump's presidency, what Europe should do, what this means for Europe, what it doesn't mean for Europe. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? Do they think that this matters? They're not influencing any policy makers with their little speeches. They're not getting the viewpoint out for their country. They're not. It's accomplishing nothing. When these parliamentarians get up during the plenary, and this thing takes like half a day. But within the parliament is the Conference of Presidents, so you have 7 leading parties. Each of them has a president, and then those are the guys and ladies who determine policy, and they have a rapporteur, and there's committees. There's 20 committees. Within the parties, they pick who's going to go on the committees, and you have the Conference of Presidents. Those are your movers and shakers in the parliament. So how is that for democracy? That's not that's just one aspect. But anyway, I just had to get that 2 cents in there. But they devoted an entire plenary to Donald Trump. Entire plenary. Just talking about Trump. They're upset. You and I listened to Ursula von der Leyen.
Yes, we did.
And it's mind-blowing that Donald Trump is already causing a tectonic shift. Now, this tectonic shift was already in play. In a certain way, it was in play. But he's really causing the actual tectonic shift. So there was already movement. So I don't want to make it sound like there wasn't already movement in the geosphere, because there was. And I'm talking about this age of empires that we're in, this multipolar order. And we listened to Ursula basically say that, in part because of Trump's policy and his threat of tariffs.
Yeah.
And she basically said that globalization is over. Well, we've known that globalization has ended, but now the empires are looking out for themselves And there's going to be this conflict. So I'm really curious, will the United States and Europe work out something with Donald Trump at the helm? Or is there going to be some kind of a trade war? What do you think?
Well, and let's add a certain word called tariffs. Yes?
His favorite word is happy word.
Yeah.
Everybody said that happy word. His happy word is tariffs.
He doesn't talk about drinks, he doesn't talk about cocktails, but tariffs.
Tariffs.
And it will be implemented. We'll see how this does affect American economy. And, well, by the way, Canada, Trudeau has already made statements. He does not think it's good for the relations between Canada and America to impose such tariffs.
The United States and European Union, is the most comprehensive trade pact of all trade pacts. It is the trade pact that tops the world's trade pacts. And both of the empires account for 40% of world trade. That is a huge number. If we together account for 40%, that's considerable. That's major amount of money, major amount of trade. Just two empires, two entities. So you have to ask yourself, what are the tariffs going to do to that relationship and to the trade? What do you think they're going to do? How far do you think they're going to affect the U.S. economy?
According to Mr. Trump, it's going to bolster our economy, and he's about America first, making things happen here in America.
Well, I've had a lot of fun watching Europe's panties being a wad.
Yeah.
I have. It's rather enjoyable. It's rather enjoyable to see all the steps that they're taking, but some of the steps that they're taking, they're already an empire that has a third more population than what ours is. Then when they take in the next 10 members, they're going to be about 675 million citizens with all these trade pacts. And what Ursula's been doing is now, because the United States, they can't rely on the United States, what is she doing? She's going to India. That's smart move. They don't have a completed trade pact with India. They're going to work out a big deal with India. And that's been on the table, but it's been on the shelf for a bit. But it's also already has been started. They're also going to further cement their relations, trade relations with China. So what you can see they're doing is they're hedging their economy, but they're also doing this huge boost on, they're going to have a military literally overnight, because the military is already there in kind of like a house. You build the foundation and then
Right.
you add the rest of the things. Well, that foundation's already built. They're just adding the rest of the things, but they're going to shotgun blast overnight those final touches so that they're a full-fledged army. And that's going to make them a hard power, because right now they're a soft power. Then you have in 2027, that's 2 years, possible treaty changes or possible changes to allow these things. Then you have this competition, and it's going to be accomplished, and they start for this capital markets union. So you have to consider that at some point, this empire of 675 million, that's what it's going to be, is going to have its own army. It's also going to have a capital markets union, meaning it'll have an S&P 500 for Europe. You know, right now, if you want to trade in Europe, you go to the different indices. So what do you think of that? And the banking union. And the capital markets also, they're cutting a lot of red tape to now keep companies in Europe, because a lot of the companies go to the United States because of all their red tape.
Yeah.
As Ursula said, it's now a time of real competition. It's competition of the empires. But what they're doing because of Trump's policy is they're going very fast at these things because they know that these things are going to make them strong. So my prediction, they're going to succeed. And the United States is going to find that out. They're already a lucrative, strong market. So, what do you think, Don?
What do you think of this? I think he's going to succeed. How about that? I'm going to make a blanket statement. He's going to have a lot of success. Can't succeed 100%, but most of it's going to happen.
So you believe he will succeed?
I think he's given a lot of hope to this country.
Okay. I say it's too late to succeed.
Okay?
Too late. Too much time was already wasted. Now, had this been done 20 years ago, different story.
But his answer, he's trying to reverse the policies of the previous administration under Mr. Biden.
His protectionist policies are really more in line with Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. The idea of keeping the companies in the United States, Biden was doing that, but Trump is doing it on steroids.
Yeah.
Okay, so you believe, your feeling is that Trump is going to succeed, America will become great and be the leading world empire.
I think so, yes.
Okay, my theory,
Yes.
based on my analysis, research, is European Union is going to be top banana. It will be too late. It's too late. Too late.
Okay.
Because while this empire has been building, nobody's been paying attention to it, and it's been making incredible strides that nobody has really reported on or seen the significance of. So, we're going to see, Don, who's right.
Okay, and America first. And if you listen to enough ministers, I've listened to the invocations, certainly a lot of denominations saying that God is on America's side now. Do you believe that? Are we on the right side of history in America?
As far as the United States being in the lead, I think that those days will be over. Because when this empire was forming and evolving, every U.S. president, Democrat or Republican, gave it carte blanche until Trump. The problem is, it's too late. You cannot turn back what's now in course. Now, having said that, right now, their economy is hurting. We know that Germany is taking a huge beating. We know that Germany is hurting. The European Union economy is behind the United States and China. It's behind. But with the moves that Europe is going to make, it will put the EU right back in the race again. So the question is going to be the tariff issue. And how will the tariff issue, if Trump enacts those tariffs, will it further bring down their economy right now and make things even more difficult? But they're probably also going to punch back because they're starting to punch up to their weight. Trump might be responsible for some kind of comprehensive, stellar, further record-breaking trade agreement.
Let's look for that.
And that would be...
I think so. Isn't that quite possible?
That could be possible. That's what they're also opting for. There used to be a pact called TTIP, Transatlantic Trade and Partnership, and it ended up getting scrapped because that little piece of nonsense wanted to give corporations more power than governments. So that was the problem with TTIP. TTIP ended up getting scrapped, but TTIP had promised to boost GDP by 4 to 5%, but they couldn't agree. Now, will Trump be responsible for a huge agreement? That would be the smart thing, but I don't think that Trump is a big fan of the European Union. The only EU leader that was invited to his inauguration was Giorgia Meloni. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni.
And she heavily sought that chair at the inauguration. I was in several European newspapers. She was advocating her desire to be at the inauguration.
When you listen to Carlos Vendanza and he's a major person within her, she now stepped down as president, but he's Brothers of Italy, he's also the European Conservatives and Reformists, he's a thought leader. And his speech at the Parliament, because I'm listening to everybody about Donald Trump, was very low-key. It was one that would not upset the relations with Trump and Meloni. And basically, it focused on the immigration. It didn't go into a lot of issues. It was just a very low-key commentary by the ECR group, which she has her stamp on. I thought that was noteworthy, but Italy is definitely going to be the peacemaker here, the bridge for whatever deal will come forth. Also, that makes Giorgia Meloni very, very important in the EU stratosphere.
Absolutely.
Very important, because their panties are in a wad right now.
But this is one wild, dramatic time in world's history. I think you and I agree on that.
Definitely. But meanwhile, world is breaking up into empires, multipolar order, each empire out for themselves. We've got the revived Roman Empire in the European Union, back to ancient times again. That's a little spooky.
Okay. So, wishing you good health, good luck. How about sun? Some nice days. Enjoy the skiing.
And definitely hit the subscribe button, and also catch me on The Hunt for the Antichrist. If you want to hear what these things mean from the biblical perspective, tune in to that channel. This
Absolutely.
is our 2 cents on news. Anyway, we'll see you next time.
And shalom, 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 and thank you for watching.
Damn.
Запах, когда папа в будке, Вроде Бабилон, тебе не шутки.